So is it really easier to make art when you have all the colors of the rainbow to work with? Let's find out. Hi everyone, so yeah, let's try to make some art using rainbow colors. And I know that a rainbow contains a whole wide spectrum of colors, but let's focus on the 7 main ones: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo and purple. So this will kind of be like a 7-color challenge. And as you may have noticed, I'm surrounded by Copics, so that is what art medium I'm gonna work with today. So yeah, let's try to find some good rainbowy colors. Yes, I'm storing my markers vertically, that is just the way it is. So let's see if we can find a decent red. I honestly don't think that I'm gonna use the E colors, so I'm just gonna put those away. Well, these 3 are practically the same color, maybe a little too orangey. I'm not really sure if I want a warmer red or a cooler red, so I'm just gonna save these 2 and then decide when I have some other colors. I actually don't have that many orangey color tones. Yeah, I'm kind of liking this one. It isn't too saturated. Yellow. That's a very neon-y yellow. Wow, that one is completely dry. FY1 fluorescent yellow orange. I think the fluorescent ink is a little different than the other markers. I kind of like that one. And also, I just want to mention that I actually came to think about this idea myself using the rainbow colors, but after doing some searching on YouTube, it turned out that Jazza actually did this challenge some years ago, so I will leave a link to his video down in the description box below, so feel free to check that out. I haven't really decided on any colors yet, I'm just watching to see if I find something that I like. So we have blue, maybe a more muted blue. Well, that one was not very fresh. Maybe one of these. And then we have indigo. So I just searched indigo to get some idea what color to use. And I know what indigo is, but sometimes it can be good to use references anyway. And I think this one, oh, that's a nice one. I think this Prussian blue is very close. It is a little more saturated than this one, and it might go well with a more desaturated blue. See if we have something else. Too light. That one is way too saturated. And then the last one is purple. And I'm really trying to get a good balance between the colors because I don't want them all to be mid-tones or all super saturated. I was thinking that maybe if I use a more desaturated blue, I can use it for shading. But I also like to use purple for shading, so maybe I should go for a more saturated blue and a more desaturated purple. I'm still trying to figure this out. I think maybe that one. So let's go through them all. So here we have one of the options that I could go with, but looking at it in black and white, we can see we don't have that much different values in these 3 colors. We have the yellow one that is very light, and then we have the indigo that is very dark, and the red and purple are quite similar, and then we have the orange, green and blue that are very much the same in values. Maybe I can find a better combination that has more difference in values. So after a lot of swatching and a lot of testing, I think I finally have my 7 rainbow colors. We have RV29, YR68, Y02, YG03, B95, B39 and V17. So now I think we get a pretty nice rainbow. And when looking at it in black and white, we can see that we get a fairly decent variety in values. We get some darker tones and mid-tones and lighter tones. And yeah, they are still very vibrant and colorful. But I think having a muted blue, I can use it to tone down the other colors. So I think I will be able to control the vibrancy. But then on the other hand, it is rainbow colors. I want it to be bright and colorful. cool. Also, before we get started, I just want to mention really quick that if you would be interested in getting my art as art prints or other things, I have opened a store now, so if you would like to check it out, I will have a link down in the description box below and also over there. Now let's create some rainbow art. Also, who else is looking like this after using markers? I'm a messy artist. So I was brainstorming some ideas for a scene that would fit a lot of different colors. So I was considering a floating island because I love drawing floating islands, but I've done that a couple of times now. And then I was looking at the yellow and the orange, which are colors that I rarely use, to be honest, because it isn't really my favorite colors to work with. But I came to think of a desert landscape, which I've never really drawn on this channel before, so I thought that could be a fun idea. Some mountains in the background, cacti, night sky, a lonely skull with no skeleton attached to it. Of course, it could be pretty. And I simply cannot draw a desert landscape without adding a desert creature, so I decided to add a little fennec fox because they are so cute with their big ears. And of course I have my Sally here keeping me company as usual, and she has just decided that half my desk belongs to her now, so that is just the way it is. Anyway, cleaning up the sketch, and I'm using Procreate if anyone is wondering, and then refining it one more time before printing it. Also, since a few of you have been wondering, I use an inkjet printer and I'm printing on smooth Bristol board using the settings photo on regular paper. It works really well with markers, no smearing or smudging or anything, but keep in mind though that inkjet doesn't really work that well with watercolors because the ink will dissolve. I've learned that the hard way. So yeah, I was very excited to color this piece, and I think the only thing that I'm regretting with the line work that I came to think about now afterwards is not adding more fun details to the fox itself, kind of giving it a bit of a shaman, is that how you say it? Shaman vibes with feathers and some jewelries and stuff like that, just to spice it up a bit. And yeah, I think the hardest color to incorporate and to work with is the yellow. It is so bright and yellow. It was a little hard to blend into the rest of the colors, but I did my very best, and I think over time while working on this piece I kinda learned how to combine different colors so it wouldn't look too muddy. So I'm working in a little bit of a stylized coloring style for some parts of the illustration, adding different textures to add more dimension, but without blending the colors together too much. I want you to be able to see the colors that I've been working with to really get the rainbow vibe. So I'm making a gradient background using the indigo blue at the top and then the purple and then the blue, and it may look a little splotchy and uneven, but I was going for a semi-cloudy night sky. To be honest, I was a little tired of drawing skies at that point because guess what? This is the third time drawing that sky, but I will talk more about that in just a minute. You know how much I love talking about how I mess up my drawings. So after having to redraw this art a few times, the green marker started to die on me, and of course I don't have any refills for it, but very fortunate enough I actually had a Copic Classic marker in the exact same color, so I'm using that one instead. In case you're wondering about the square marker on my desk, Copic Classic markers have a chisel nib and a bullet nib, and they have this square barrel. So I think the most tricky part with this illustration was coloring the fox. Fennec foxes are usually this light cream or sand color with darker, kind of like orangey markings in the face. So they have a little bit of orangey and yellowish tones, but no way near the bright yellow and orange that I'm working with. So I had to take some artistic liberties, and I'm using the blue to tone down the bright colors a bit and to shade with. And I'm also using a colorless blender to smooth out any harsher lines to make it a little more soft. There is a lot of contrast going on with the orange and the white. It looks very cartoony, but I think adding the blue shading to the white, it really helps to make it more cohesive. And later on I'm also shading the cacti with the blue, which I think looks very pretty, mixing the green and the blue. And where I wanted a little deeper shadows and contrast, I added a bit of purple too to add a little more depth. So yeah, let's talk about all these times that I had to remake this drawing. I had to redo this art a few times. That's right, this is one of my draw this at least 3 times drawing. The first drawing that I made, I messed up the sky immediately. I put the blue instead of the purple right under the indigo and it just didn't look right. And then the second attempt, I actually came really far with coloring the whole sky, but then I just hated the way I colored the rock in the foreground that the fox is standing on. It just turned out way too dark and muddy, so it blended in with the background. It just bothered me, so I felt I needed to start over. So third time's the charm, as usual. And it's not the first time I had to redo my art, and it's not the last time. I think it is because I'm working with colors that I'm not used to. It takes a little bit of experimentation and learning. Even if I did make a color mock-up, I just needed to mess up 2 drawings before learning to do it the right way. And there's something I need to add because I just thought it was so funny. I have this book where you can read about different animals and what they symbolize, and you can use the book to get messages in dreams or in meditation and stuff like that. And apparently, according to this book and the author, fennec foxes symbolize learning by doing, that you gain experience and knowledge by trying and testing new things. And I thought it was hilarious since I had to redraw this art several times, so it was definitely learning by trying new things. So I wanted to have the foreground lighter and brighter with a yellow color and then have it darker further in the distance using the red and orange and then toning it down a bit and shading it with the blue. And I was thinking that the mountain in the background, it is one of these red plateau mountains, and I know nothing about desert landscapes. I'm a pale Swede, but I think they're called mesa or mesas, or maybe that's the landform. I have no idea. And another thing that I regret a little is not adding more details in the background, or more levels rather. I had much more different levels and hills in the background in the original sketch, but it kind of disappeared in the process, I assume. So it was a little bit of an experimental piece and a challenge, of course, only using 7 colors, and honestly I was a little meh about it until I started adding the highlights. I really felt that this needed something more, so I used a white color pencil and a white gel pen to add some stars to the sky, thorns or spikes to the cacti, just highlights and details in general. I think it made the art more crisp and it looks much more rendered and finished and cohesive. I really love how it came out, but yeah, it was definitely a challenging challenge, one of the more challenging art challenges I've done in a while. Sure, I have a bunch of colors to work with, but it was still a little tricky when you don't have any in-between tones, so to speak, and I struggled a lot with it, having to redraw it a few times, but in the end I think it was worth it. I learned a lot how to mix and blend certain colors and how to tone them down and balance it out. I think it turned out rainbowy, but without being too obvious and in your face, you know. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video and the art. It is available as prints if you're interested. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Keep drawing my happy cats. Bye!